New Japan Pro Wrestling held its annual Resurgence event over in Ontario, California at the Toyota Arena on May 9th, 2025, and I'm going to review it. I'm going to review this show, a show which is, okay, let's switch this up a little bit. A review that will be under the theme of indifference. This is a show that has left me completely and utterly indifferent. I have no strong feelings either way. I am not going to remember anything on this show, over the next couple of weeks, past the next couple of weeks, I should say. After that, it's just going to be completely relegated to memory. This was a show that was absolutely 100% designed to leave me indifferent. And the execution is one thing, of course, we're going to talk about the execution. But even before that, looking at the card as it was coming together, I sort of shrugged. I was sort of, I was not compelled. Nothing was screaming at me, by God, this is going to make you so excited to plop your Hayes ass down on the usual spot on the couch, to watch some New Japan Pro Wrestling for a couple of hours. Nothing here really did it for me, but I did come in with an open mind because I feel like a lot of the New Japan of America offerings this year have been particularly good so far. I thought Battle in the Valley in January was particularly good. I really liked Windy City Riot. I thought it was a very good show. This one here, no, I can't say this was a good show, but I also can't tell you it was a bad show. It was a show that just happened. Things went on. Stuff occurred in professional manner. But there was really nothing to sink your teeth into. And even the stuff that I figured, this will probably crank things up. I'm like, no, not even. I don't know if it was, was it me who was in a mood? Maybe I wasn't super receptive. Maybe it was not a good time to watch some pro wrestling when I got around to watching Resurgence. Maybe it's not, maybe I'm not in the right frame of mind, but I've seen no one buzz about it. No one in my circles is even talking about it. Like, this show happened and is just completely disappearing off the map, off the face of the earth. So, indifference. And it is actually like the most difficult kind of review I can do because, like I said, I'm not feeling any strong... I don't have any strong feelings either way. I'm not, I'm not super high on it. I'm not super low on it. I've got there's nothing on the card that particularly got me going or got me upset or there's nothing. Full disclosure, before coming to sit at the desk to do this, I was debating with myself, well, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do? How can I take a show that was just bereft of any vibe and just do a review and make it somewhat entertaining, a little good, to something usual to the extent of what I can usually do. And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Even basically, it's what am I even going to break down? But then, at the same time, I know myself fairly well. The minute I press the record button, I'll be fine. Somehow I'll manage to get 40 minutes out of a show that I feel there's nothing to talk about, which is wild, which is my blessing and my curse, to be completely honest. You can never accuse Warren Hayes of brevity in his thoughts, in his opinions, in how he approaches things. That's something you can never hold against me. Look, I don't know how if you watch this show, I don't know how you felt about it. If you did watch it, because I don't think there's all that many people who ended up watching it. I don't think a lot of people did. But if you did watch it, I'm curious to know how you felt about it. Am I completely off base? Is this like a terrific pay-per-view? And Warren, you obviously, you didn't take your medication before watching this. Well, first of all, buddy, my medication has nothing to do with moods, okay? First of all, very bold of you to assume I take medication to control my moods. I don't have I don't take any SSRIs or mood enhancers or whatever the fuck they're called. I don't take any of those. Medication I do have to take, is extremely, it serves one purpose, and that's to keep me alive. So there's a difference. Then yes, I did take that medication. I take it 3 times a day. Thank you. I'm good. Person with whom I'm having an argument strictly, in my head, an absolutely imaginary argument right now. So, the point being is that maybe, you can have some counterpoints here where it's like, absolutely, Warren. No, Warren, you're absolutely off base. This was terrific. I loved TJP and Templario versus the World Class Wrecking Crew. I thought that was match of the night. You could have any kind of opinions like that, and I'd be like, I guess maybe it's me. Like, I have no strong feelings about this. This was a nothing show. There is one newsworthy thing that happened on this show. And outside of that, and look, I know I'm not the only person who was uninspired by this card, okay? 2,027 people showed up for Resurgence this year at the Toyota Arena. Last year, there was over 3,000 people. So there was clearly, and look, why don't we, let's pull it up here. 2024? Yeah, it's practically it's essentially 1,000 less people. 3,024 people showed up last year. Same venue, same time of year. Main event was Jon Moxley versus Shota Umino for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Co-mained by Gabe Kidd versus Eddie Kingston for the Strong Openweight title. And you also had Shingo Takagi versus Yuya Uemura. You had Jeff Cobb versus Lance Archer. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Stephanie Vaquer was on the show fighting Alex Windsor. Geez, that already feels like 10 years ago. So yeah, I guess I wasn't alone in feeling that this was a nothing card, that there was nothing really to get you excited. I feel like my feelings overall are correct, and I'm not saying that there are no matches. You could not have enjoyed any matches on this show. No, of course you can enjoy some matches on this show. You can enjoy all the matches if you want, on top of that, but I found nothing particularly exciting, compelling, nothing that will stay with me, nothing like stuff happened. Matches happened on the show. I look, might as well just get to it, right? Might as well just start breaking stuff down. I mean, but then again, I don't even know what to break down. Look, you're going to see in a second. Okay, first of all, let's start. We're going to do ourselves a favor, and we're going to start with the top of the card, and we're going to work our way all the way back down. Okay, so at least we're gonna talk about the really interesting stuff out the gate, because the business end of the card is clearly the most interesting stuff that happened, and that includes the New Japan Strong Women's Title 3-Way match in which Azumi defeated both Mercedes Moné and Mina Shirakawa to become the New Japan Strong Women's title. And this was probably rather hands down-ish, the best match of the night. I thought this was particularly good. And refreshing, but at the same time, I didn't think it was a match that necessarily tore the house down, that redefined everything. It was good. It was very good, but I wouldn't call it great by any stretch. But well worked, and you've got your good spots. Here you got Mina getting the first big spot of the night, doing a flying crossbody off the top turnbuckle to the floor, and then Mercedes does the three amigos and does a Meteora. Shirakawa, of course, works the knee. She's working for that figure four. Azumi, she's flying all over the place. She does La Mystica. She's doing the coup de grace. Mina does a leg lock DDT combo, which is always fun. But then she also does a double figure four leg lock where she and it just looks like shit. Like she's locking both girls into the figure four. And it really looks awful. I'm like, why are we doing this? Who thought this was a good idea? Who agented this? It's like someone needs to stop this. But Azumi has a big comeback towards the end, really the back end of the match. She does a destroyer back and forth between Azumi and Mina Shirakawa, mealy mouth Warren, and Azumi rolls up Shirakawa, who rolls fully through to get into a pinning situation, but Azumi completes like the full rotation and gets Mina back with her shoulders down, and Azumi gets the win. So, yeah, I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good. But when you've sat through an entire show and your eyes are glazing over and finally something good arrives and it's the last match and you're like, yeah, this is too little too late. This is kind of how it felt. Drop this third from the top, and then I'm perked back up. I'm ready for the rest of the show, but this is how it ends. So I'm like, all right. And it wasn't anything, I don't think, spectacular enough to really carry a vibe where when you just witnessed a really, really special main event and you're walking out the venue and it's still buzzing in your head, and then you go to sleep, your pillow hits your head hits the pillow. Could be the other way too, but your head hits the pillow and you're still thinking about it, But that wasn't it. This was not it. However, look, let's focus on some positives. I think everyone worked well. If not a little slow for some reason. And I'm not saying like at a snail's pace. This wasn't a crawl, but everything just felt like just a beat off or two at times. And I'm like, why does this feel off? Why is the energy in this match off? Because it shouldn't, not with these three women, particularly Mercedes and Azumi. Like, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't feel sluggish, but like I said, it's not a match where things were so slow that I was pulling my hair out, but it did not feel like a big time, fast paced match that you should get in a three-way with these three women. I think this is probably one of Mercedes's least impressive outings since last fall, when she started her incredible string of matches. I think her Dynamite match against Yuka Sakazaki is probably her low point since then. Other than that, she's just been absolutely golden. I'm of the thought that Mina is hit or miss. I don't particularly think she's this power worker. I think she's fine. And I think she's well suited to work an American style of wrestling. She's good. Don't get me wrong, but she's not on the level of Mercedes as far as work goes, and I don't think she's on the level of Azumi either, who is tremendous. And quite frankly, I'm very happy that she's getting this opportunity. I'm happy that New Japan is like, you know what, we're going to give you more exposure in North America, because I've been saying it for the better part of a year since she started appearing more and more on North American promotions, televised promotions, whether it be televised, that get distribution, that are known in North America, right? Like New Japan, like Ring of Honor, and AEW and all that. I think she has a legitimate chance of getting herself over with her work. I think the AEW crowd has that affinity to really get behind someone when they can really pull it together all in the ring. She's stupid young yet. She's like 21, 22. Like, she is ridiculously young, and she's been doing this for 6 years. She's an accomplished, polished professional wrestler, but she still has things that she needs to put together to complete the Azumi package. I think we're on that path, and she has years ahead of her to do that. And let's not get our wires crossed here. She is an incredible pro wrestler, period. Not just for her age, just period. And on top of that, she's ridiculously young. She's easily got 20 years, easily. She's still got 2 decades, easy, of a career ahead of her if she wants. So she has time to put this all together. Yeah, I think her main issue is crowd connection. I think that's the main thing that she has trouble with, is getting people invested in her, ergo her matches. But that's going to settle, and she's going to find her footing sooner than later. And we've seen it multiple times. We see it all over the place, where with young talent basically developing before our eyes, where at some point you can see the talent, you can see how good they are, but there's that ingredient missing. There's that confidence missing. There's that swag missing. How they feel themselves in the ring. Like, Gabe Kidd is a great example of that, who just like completely, since the start of this year has completely pulled it together. Like, there's no doubt about Gabe Kidd. A guy like Nick Wayne still is exactly in that phase right now, trying to figure it out. Kyle Fletcher, he's figured it out. This is another guy who for years, people were like, well, once this guy figures it all out, he's going to be unstoppable, and he's figured it out. So get ready. He will not be stopped. Konosuke Takeshita is another example. So I'm not worried if Azumi right now is not like this bona fide megastar. I think she's on her way. And she'll figure out the thing that works for her. Look at Saya Kamitani in Stardom. It's the same thing. Saya was so, milquetoast and, average. I myself have said it multiple times, like, I appreciated her work, but she did nothing for me. And now look at this fucking heel turn that she's done. And now she owns pro wrestling now. So there's a lot coming from Azumi, and this is a great first step to get her more acquainted with the North American audience, because the strong title is meant to be defended in the United States, and clearly she wants to wrestle more in the United States. So this is all good stuff. This is all things that are going to work out for her in the end. And I think it's a good step forward. I support the decision. I can't help but think, nonetheless, that this is unrelated and related to a completely other wrestling promotion, but I see this as a sign in regards to Mercedes Moné. I think I see this. Look, here's, I don't have a tendency to fantasy book because, I don't particularly like it. But let's say we tinfoil hat this for a second. I have a feeling that the reason Mercedes dropped her title today was because I believe the reason Mercedes dropped the strong title might have something to do with booking plans for her at All In for AEW this year, where she just might come out of All In being the TBS champion and the AEW World Women's Champion. So, and the reason why she'd probably want to drop the title, or, to Tony and Gato or whoever, Rocky, whoever the fuck figures out what happens on the US shows, they probably all came together, and Tony was like, well, you know what? I'd kind of want Mercedes to drop the title because otherwise it's going to get really, really complicated really soon, because Tony is not going to want his world champion, his dual women's champion, suddenly dropping the title at fucking, King of Pro Wrestling or, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? He's not going to want that. He's not going to want to, he probably has some plans for Mercedes and he doesn't want her to drop the title. Not drop the title, but like drop other titles. Make her lose in other promotions when, he probably wants her to be lossless until he decides it's time for her to lose one of the two belts, right? So probably getting rid of the New Japan title, get that out of the way, was probably a good idea. And don't be surprised if the same happens with the Rev Pro British women's title, because like I said, Tony probably doesn't want to be bothered after with partner promotions calling him up and saying, your girl has to drop the title. And he's like, no, she's my double champ and I have plans. She can't do a job right now. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on her upcoming, on a possible upcoming Rev Pro booking. I think that might be a possibility that she ends up dropping the British title. And if so, mark my words right here on this review. If she drops the Rev Pro title, I would say that is the biggest omen that she is winning the women's world title at All In. And Tony will have a champ in his company and everyone will be coming after Mercedes. And there's a lot of people who are going to hate it. And I personally am going to think it's great. But let's have the angry discussions later for when it actually starts happening. 3 3/4 stars for me on this match and the match of the night. Yeah, and there's the spoiler, folks. No other matches are going to score over 3 3/4 stars for me on this one. This is like, you know what didn't help? You know what also didn't help on this fucking show for me to get into it? It's the goddamn production. Why does New Japan in America always look so fucking low rent? The picture quality is not great. The stream is not great. The audio is always fucking off in the building, right? Gabe Kidd cuts a promo at some point and you can't make out what he's saying. It's all fucking echoey. How can they not get their shit together when Deadlock Pro, a company that has a fraction of the resources available to New Japan Pro Wrestling, puts on a stronger stream with airtight production that looks crisp, is professional, well lit? What the fuck are we doing? So this, I will acquiesce on top of it all that the fucking production did not help me get involved. It didn't immerse me into this show. It baffles my mind. And I feel like, wasn't Windy City Riot, wasn't the production there like pretty good? I feel like it wasn't bad. I was like, oh, this is nice. But it baffles me when I look at Deadlock Pro, and it's a clean, gorgeous. It's a clean, gorgeous stream, great production. Everything clicks, everything works, and then I watch New Japan, arguably the third biggest promotion in the world, the biggest promotion in Japan. And they come to the United States and they look like a fucking Circle 6 show. Might be harsh. They look like a GCW show. Not in a good way. Hiroki Goto successfully retained the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship by going to a double pinfall draw with Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, come on, man. Like, if there was anything where I was like, I just threw my hands. I was like, okay, whatever. Like the one moment where you could be like, excited for a really cool finish here between Goto and Zack, and I'm not even getting that. Like there was womp womp, it's like, shame on you, Warren. Womp womp. Christ almighty, man. Like, help me out here. I don't have much to break down here. It's a lesser version of the match they had at New Beginning. Because of course, the match at New Beginning absolutely slapped. Here, it did not slap. It was fine. It's a good match, like objectively speaking, good little match. But I'm not going to sit here and Zack carried it quite a bit, doing, stretching the fuck out of Goto, which was entertaining as hell. Don't get me wrong. But that finish, that dumbass finish, that stupid finish. Both shoulders are down by both guys. 1, 2, 3. Oh, well. You're like, boo. And then compounded by the fact that the referee earlier in the match had counted 3, but only said 2. And the crowd voiced their displeasure. It wasn't shown exactly on screen, but I think it was Goto who was, he wanted to do the 2.9, came in a little too late. So the match ends and I'm like, all right, okay, well, I've stopped caring about this show. All right, it's fine. This is what you want to do. It's fine. I was hyped up for a rematch of Zack Sabre Jr. and Hiroki Goto, a match that I absolutely loved, which is on my match of the year list as of my recording here. Like, of course, everything can change and move around, but as it stands, it's just tremendous, right? It's a tremendous match. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Not even that. What am I doing? What are we doing? What is this goofy ass fucking finish? Why does New Japan get away with this shit? Because you see, like, I'm into the Hiroki Goto championship run. I think right now, for my money, it is the most compelling, the most interesting, the best overall world championship run in pro wrestling right now. And I'm open to arguments, but think about it. Like, who is in a world title situation anywhere in the world right now, any promotion, is a world champion and has as much of a compelling, emotional run that connects with the audience, that no one is rejecting, that everyone seems to universally enjoy? Maybe Ozawa and Noah, maybe, okay? But I don't think it connects on the same level. It's not Mox, it's not Cena. As much as I love Saya Kamitani, I don't think it's not the same thing. It ain't Joe Hendry, I'll tell you what. Listen, so the idea is that I'm invested in this, and I'm invested into this idea that he's had a record number of defenses, and he says he's a fighting champion, and he is a fighting champion. Like, he has had a tremendous amount of defenses for the short amount of time he's been champion. And this is shit I can get behind, because it all works in the Goto story. A guy who always wanted to be champion, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That was the thing. And he worked his entire fucking career to get to this point. He was never the anointed one. He was never the chosen one. And his time, the stars, everything just aligns perfectly for it to happen. And now that he has the title, something that he had been saying since the New Japan Cup 2024, and he's been saying, I want to do this for myself, for my father. I want to instill pride in my children. And he's doing it, and he's showing it through work. Like, he is being an example for that locker room at the same time. So I'm disappointed that this great run of wins, of defenses that he's on, is going to have this little fucking asterisk. It's going to have this little dopey little asterisk there is going to be like, whoa, double pin. Like, why did we need to protect Zach at all costs here? What was the thing? Maybe it'll become clear to us in a couple of weeks. Once we really start revving up for Dominion, maybe things will become really fucking clear. Oh, this is why we wanted to protect Zach. I don't see it right now. I don't understand. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Did I say things didn't make me upset? Did I say that at the start of this review that, I didn't? Well, this kind of made me upset. I guess this is the one thing that kind of, but then again, I'm not like flipping tables. I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. And I just would have liked a nice, clean win from, the people's champion right now. That I think that's fair to call Hiroki Goto that way. Like, just give the people's champion his win against, the guy he took the belt off. This is the rematch. It should feel good, but this is what we got instead. When I said this is what we got instead, I mean it. Good little match. I give it what? Like, I don't know, like 3.25, 3.5, not more than 3.5. I don't know. Stop pestering me. I have to make a choice because I'm probably going to put that on drop kicked. So what am I going to? 3.5, I guess. 3.5 because Zach's stretching him was really good. Anyway, moving on. Konosuke Takeshita defeated El Fantasmo to retain the Never Open Weight title. This was another one that I was banking on to be great, where I was like, sweaty palms and going, all right, let's go, because Konosuke Takeshita is in there, who currently, for those of you who follow my match of the my best matches of the month lists that I've been doing on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, ergo the YouTube channel. Konosuke Takeshita is currently the guy who has shown up the most in my lists. in my top matches, he is the guy who's been showing up the most because he's tremendous and he is incapable of having a bad match. So again, here, he did not have a bad match. Was it a great match? I don't think so. I don't think it was a great match. I think it was good, but I don't think it was great. I really like the final. I really like the final stretch of this match where ELP is mounting his big comeback. ELP was very good in this comeback. Comeback sequence. I guess it kind of starts when they're both on the top rope fighting, and Takeshita lariats him being ELP off the top rope. After that, Takeshita lands a tombstone, hangs on to the waist lock, and then raises himself back up and converts the tombstone into a bastard driver, which he does once in a while, and I always think is really fucking rad. Super kick by ELP, bastard driver again by Takeshita and then he holds on to it again and follows up with the wheelbarrow German suplex. ELP gets some fighting spirit, and they get into some strikes. A poison Rana by ELP, a super kick in the CR2, but Takeshita kicks out. Springboard crossbody followed by the Thunder Kiss 86. ELP goes for the cover, but Rocky Romero, who was accompanying Konosuke Takeshita at ringside, yoinks the ref out of the ring to a groan that resonated deep in my living room. I was like, why are we doing this? No, we don't have to do this. Rocky Romero gets put through a table via powerbomb by ELP, which is fine. Takeshita strikes, beats up ELP, and lands the burning fire for the win. Yeah, this final sequence was really, really good. I thought the rest of the match was fine. It was good. Elevated towards the end. The Rocky Romero stuff really, got a big groan out of me. I was like, I don't see, was this necessary? Was this truly necessary? I don't think it took away too much from the match, but just enough for me to be annoyed. And again, probably if the rest of the evening hadn't been what it was, maybe I would be less annoyed. This is all possible. But I was annoyed at this point. And you know what annoyed me most, and it has nothing to do with the match, but what annoyed me the fucking most from this match. It's after Kensuke Takeshita extends his hand and ELP shakes his hand. And I'm like, ELP, you fucking dummy. There's a fair possibility you were cheated out of this victory because of Rocky Romero, who did bullshit. You should be mad. This is dumb. This is dumb. So, it's not going to affect my rating, but it's still fucking dumb. And the rating for me is 3 3/4 stars. And you're going to be like, Warren, didn't you say that the highest rating you were giving out was for the main event? And you said that was the match of the night well, see it like this. I still preferred the main event to ELP versus Takeshita. I think that while the sequence was the final sequence, the final third was really good, it lacked it lacked spark. It lacked, for the lack of a better term, and not to sound too corny, it lacked fighting spirit. And I think the work overall was really strong. So I'd give it a 3 3/4 star minus, whereas the main event I'd give it 3 3/4 plus. And that's the main differentiation between the two. Is this the most obnoxious, most grotesque thing I've ever talked about? Because I've talked about some really obnoxious and grotesque things here. It's got to rank at the very top. I feel really bad. Like I'm actually, my skin is crawling right now, having said all of those things. But nonetheless, there's your explanation. Tomohiro Ishii retained the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship against Drilla Maloney. We're going to breeze through the rest here. I thought this was a 3-star special, and there's nothing more to it. I had really high expectations for Drilla Maloney hitting the circuit with a new heavyweight. I was like, okay, let's go. Let's see what we can do here. And if he's having 3-star matches with Tomohiro Ishii, like matches is just like, it's fine, it's good, but it's nothing remarkable. Then I don't know. I don't know who's gonna drag out the good stuff out of Drilla Maloney if fucking Tomohiro Ishii is not the guy who's going to do it. Like who? So I don't know. I don't know where I stand on Drilla Maloney right now. I want him to succeed. I want him to be a big fucking, bad motherfucker bruiser type guy. And I think he can do it, but something's not quite there yet. We're not clicking quite yet there. So we'll see what happens next. The Young Bucks and the Good Brothers defeated the Bullet Club War Dogs team of David Finlay, Gabe Kidd, Clark Connors, and Gato. You get one chance to guess who took the pin here. Gentleman's 3 on this one. I do not know who can be possibly excited for the return of the Good Brothers in New Japan or anywhere really. I don't know who's into this. I circulate in multiple areas of the internet related to pro wrestling. And in none of these areas do I see, excitement and prognostications towards the bright future that Machine Gunka and Dr. Gallows have moving forward here. I am not into this. I don't know who's into this. I don't know who wants this. I understand why they're back doing gigs for New Japan, and they will probably end up in Japan. Won't just be, the North American stuff. They're probably going to end up in Japan doing shots and tours. I know why. I understand why. But I don't know who's into this. Is it the Japanese fans who cannot get enough of the Machine Gun entrance, I don't think so. I from what I understand from people who are much more fluent in Japanese and who are sharing this information, no, I don't think they're into it. I don't think they're into a 2025 Machine Gunka run or Dr. Gallows. And they have a new gimmick now because they can't be Bullet Club anymore. They're doing like a cult thing. Jesus Christ. Like, I could not care less. I could not care less. And there's only, and I don't think anyone cared in this match. I didn't feel any oomph. I think the Bucks did what they could, but no one was into this. And I wasn't into this. Just gentlemen's three and move on. Then the United Empire duo, or should I say the United Empire duo of TJP and Templario defeated the world-class Wrecking Crew to become the new Japan Strong Openweight champions. I don't understand this at all. Like, it was, I thought the tag team, the TJP Templario tag team, was so awkward. First of all, TJP did not come out to United Empire colors. He was in like bright fucking red, black, his fucking fuzzy white coat with checkers on it, I think, or spots, like a, like he's Cruella de Vil, right? I can't quite remember. And he comes out and he makes, just to make it real clear and so fucking clear that he's no longer really a member of the United Empire. Like, he's like this, you've all heard of the nonsense happening, right? The backstage stuff that made it to Twitter and, TJP's wife and Jeff Cobb. And, if you don't know what I'm talking about, God bless you. Just know that there's been some tensions. And he comes out all by himself, and Templario is super late to follow him out. And Templario doesn't even get any of his music. He just walks out, and they don't even high five each other in the ring. They stay apart, far apart from each other. Like, it's the most awkward thing. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, these guys clearly don't want to be with each other, or at least clearly, not in a kayfabe way, in a very look at the body language way. Look at how they're kind of ignoring each other, staying far apart, not interacting. Neither guy is really into this. And for some reason, we decide to strap the titles on them and on TJP, who is a freelancer. Like, Rocky, what's the decision here? I don't understand it. Do we want to get upset when he decides to, not return to New Japan and you have to drop the titles or whatever the fuck? Or is this like some way to keep him happy? To give him like literally the least important title in all of New Japan, right? Like the strong openweight tag team titles are legitimately the least important titles in the entire company. I would say, even when the King of Pro Wrestling title was still around, that was more important than these belts. No one gives a shit about these belts. And maybe that's why they're like, oh, we'll give it to TJP. Is TJP that big of a mark that if he's given like the bottom rung titles, he'll be like, oh, well, now I'm satisfied I have a championship? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't understand. This is a very puzzling decision. And I feel bad for Templario, even if I don't know him and I don't know how he's been involved. Like, I feel like he's the newest member of the thing. He's been, 2 months ago? He was inducted into United Empire, something like that. 3 months ago. And now it's like he's been thrown into this drama. And he's just like, brother, I just want to wrestle. I want to get more eyeballs on what I do. And it wasn't even that great a match. I thought this was the kind of think this was the worst match of the show. Frankly, one of them. It is what it is. I have no notes. 2 3/4 stars. And the opener, Fred Rosser defeated Matt Vandegrift. I gave that 2 3/4 stars too. I thought it was well worked, but there was like, who cares? But it was well worked. But again, like who cares? And I guess the other big piece of news that happened on the show, outside of Izumi becoming the strong women's champion, is B. Priestley is in New Japan. All right. New Japan, famous for its women's division. Yes, I get it. New Japan. I get it. But, anyway, she showed up. Good for her that she still has these contacts that she can get into. She defeated Viva Van, who Viva Van is growing on me, quite frankly. I think she's really growing on me. And that was in the pre-show. And then we had the Strong Survivor match where CJ Tino defeated Alan Breeze. The New Japan Resurgence 2025. A wholeheartedly skippable show. I have nothing to recommend. Unless you really want to see Izumi, win the strong open weight women's title, with the strong women's title. It's not open weight, it's for women. Sure. Go knock yourself out. But it's an entirely skippable show. From top to bottom. Nothing nothing outright terrible. Nothing outright good. Just like, all right. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. That's the review.